Planet. I am Andy Signor. For those that don't know, I am a bit of a reality TV junkie. I still like to watch some reality TV once in a while, particularly Survivor. That's my go-to, as well as some other ones here and there, just so I could turn off my brain sometimes and just watch garbage like The Bachelor. Look, it's not good programming, but I just do it. It's my guilty pleasure. Sue me. But what's interesting is now, a couple years into this, Me Too movement and sort of culture shifting the way it is, it's starting to affect even the reality shows. And I want to talk about two shows in particular: Survivor and America's Got Talent. And briefly, I want to touch on Survivor because I want to mention it, but I'm going to try and get into it later if I can once the show wraps up to see how it all nets out, because I imagine on their finale it'll be a big deal. But recently they had a contestant on the show, and she was complaining that one of the male contestants kept rubbing up against her inappropriately. And then the producers backed her up and showed some evidence of the guy, just older guy, just constantly touching her shoulders and then rubbing up against her leg, and just it was, the guy shouldn't have been doing it, clear as day. And she was getting really upset by it because she has to play this game and play nice to him, but she doesn't want anyone in her space. And I felt for her, and I think she had a valid point, and so much so that even the producers, which they never show, you never get to hear the producers talking to the contestants during the interviews. Even the producers like, "Are you okay? Like, we can do. Is this a real thing? We need to tell me. I'll fix it." And it became a whole part of the episode, and it was even crazier then, because then some of the other female contestants on that tribe basically made up the fact that he was touching them as well. So they were like, "Look, he's never done anything to me. I think she's being crazy, but if this is going to get her out, so be it. I'll do whatever I got to do to win the $1 million." And it was this crazy turn to watch, like, whoa, this is crazy. So then this one woman stands up for her, and then they sort of lie to her. So she stands up, and then they sort of change their tune. And anyway, it was a very weird and crazy episode. And it did actually showed sort of the dark side of things, where I genuinely felt bad for this player who was getting touched inappropriately. He wasn't like assaulting her, but he was definitely grazing her and seemingly playfully like, "Oh yeah. And guys, that's never okay. Don't touch people. I don't like to be touched. Anybody, just don't touch people. Stay you and stay me." Some people, are huggers, and some people do things. And this was beyond that. It's a show where you're all sort of trying to stay warm and tense, and you can't sort of snuggle up and start grazing thighs on a show. That's just not okay. So it was inappropriate, and they told him as such, and he sort of played like, "Oh, that's just what I am. I didn't mean it that way. I'm so sorry." But the real turn of the show was just when some of the contestants lied and were like, "Yeah, I'll say he touched me too if that means it's going to get me ahead, because I want her out." It was just mind-blowing, and it was sort of Machiavellian at its worst, of like, all right, well, this is no longer like cool Survivor. Like, this is dark. Like, this isn't okay. And so it's interesting to see these shows shift. And so Survivor was one example. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was a couple episodes ago. And for those who did, hit me up on social media, because I want to talk about it. Do you guys want me to talk about that further? Show some of those clips. I can try and do that. But that's my go-to show that I've watched all seasons religiously. But then I saw this other one that I thought was more interesting, that I thought, well, look, this one's a little bit more complicated. Let's go through this together and figure out, is this actually a case of a star being difficult, or does she have valid concerns and this is a toxic environment? Because Gabrielle Union became a recent judge at America's Got Talent, and now is the speculation of the reports are that she was ousted because of a toxic culture. But then the other reports say that she was difficult. And then even her husband, Dwayne, is his name? Dwayne Wade, sort of sent out these tweets saying she was fired. Why? I'm still waiting for a good answer. And Gabrielle Union was the best part of the show. Of course, he's going to say that. And then Julianne Huff was also from Dancing with the Stars. Both of them were replaced. Look, first, before we get to the story, I haven't watched this season. I haven't watched this in a while, but I've watched America's Got Talent, and they recycle through those people like water. It's very common for them to cycle people out. And Simon Cowell's kind of a creep jerk. You can just tell. Like, the dude he shouldn't be on TV anymore. He's old, outdated. No one cares about him anymore. American Idol is so overdone. But this is the show he created and produced, so he puts himself on it. And so everyone's got to sort of kiss his butt to stay on this show. And so he's cycling people through, and he just fired Mel B from Spice Girls and Heidi Klum, who were sort of regulars for a while, kicked them out to sort of try and get some new social media cred, and brought in these two ladies. And now they're not coming back because Gabrielle Union caused some drama, it seems, and she's calling foul, saying NBC caused a toxic environment. So I want to Vulture put together a pretty good sort of breakdown of what happened. I thought, let's go through this together. And I really let's try to open up our minds. Is this a case of someone being difficult, or is this a case of a toxic work environment? Sometimes it's complicated because some people are difficult to work with. Simon Cowell is, I'm sure, very difficult to work with. But when you come into a show like America's Got Talent, 20 seasons in, and you're there to be a judge and sort of to be the talent, how much are you allowed to vocalize when it's sort of a ship that's moving? When is it a time to speak up and push and tell executives, no, this needs change this, change that? And when is the judge sort of like, dude, focus on you and let the show be the show? Particularly because as a judge, you can just say your feelings when the act's over. Say whatever you want. If you have a problem with an act or a joke, say it and make it there. If it's not edited correctly and you're misinterpreted, then fine, speak up. But I don't know. I feel like it's weird if this story is true, how much pushing she was doing on some of these instances. But let's go through it. I want to get thoughts. So Gabrielle Union was criticized that it was a toxic culture of America's Got Talent. And she found herself in a tense meeting with Simon Cowell, the music mogul and reality star. He has a request for her. If she had any problems with the production of the show, come to him directly. Don't talk to NBC. And look, that's a concern. You could see it both ways of he's trying to cover something up, or you're pissing off the brass. Like, come to me so I can work with it and do it. And that's sort of what you do. At any company, you go to the boss, not the board. You don't go to the board members immediately and be like, hey, guys, I have a problem with the coffee machine. It's really not cool. Simon Cowell's in charge of the show. Go to him. If he's not doing it and you've gone to him multiple times and he's still not doing it, okay, go to someone else and figure out why and tell him you're going to do that. But I don't see a problem with him being like, yeah, stop going above my head to the network, who no one's supposed to talk to the network. Talk to me. It's my show. I brought you in. I hired you. I don't think that's off base. That's sort of how it works. Now, if he's being a jerk and doing something terrible to her, different story. But let's see as we continue. She brought up them regularly ever since she joined the show, her concerns, including perceived racist incidents. Cowell's habit of smoking indoors. This is the one thing I'll give her a total agreement on. And attempts to keep the show from misgendering contestants, according to multiple sources involved with the production. So when they do one of these pieces, they go talk to crew members and people involved at the network. Look, some of this could be not true. Some of it could. Usually when a show's going like this, in a drama, it's not that hard to find some disgruntled employees to sort of rat some things out. That said, they're disgruntled employees, so you got to take all of this with a grain of salt, obviously. But anyway, so after all these sort of complaints she made, she felt like his instructions to talk to her was his attempt to cover major issues up. And then she was informed Friday that they were letting her go after one season, because she was perceived as difficult by Cowell and his team of producers. She had a 3-year contract, and the network had the option to extend it for longer, but they dropped her, along with Judge Julianne Hough. So a source close to the production disputes that she was fired, specifically that she was fired for being perceived as difficult, saying that she was rotated out. Guys, she was fired. Well, it's true that the talent competitions do switch out judges. They do that a lot, but still, they clearly were like, no, we'll see her. But apparently they were saying that, she could come back later. Maybe they just didn't want her right now. So anyway, all these things come about, and including we're going to get to it, a racist joke made by Jay Leno, reports that the producers had critiqued the appearance of Huff and Union, including calling Union's hairstyles too black. The details of Union's grievances were shared with Vulture. Here they are. And so let's get to them. NBC, for the record, did do the statement. America's Got Talent has a long history of inclusivity and diversity in both our talent and the acts championed by the show. The judging and host lineup has been regularly refreshed over the years, and that is one of the reasons AGT's enduring popularity. NBC and the producers take any issues on set seriously. So they announced that she joined, and then she was labeled difficult. I'm trying to get straight to these. Here's the first one. She was complained that Cowell smoked inside the Pasadena theater where the show was filmed, according to sources close to the production of the show. Theater didn't have walls between dressing rooms, so they were separated by pipes and draped fabric, and cigarette smoke seeped into Union's dressing room. It's against California law for an employee to allow smoking in an enclosed workspace. She's allergic to cigarette smoke. Look, she might not be. We all are. I think that's gross. I don't want cigarette smoke on my show as I'm prepping and getting ready and makeup. Gross. And she constantly was asked, and then rebuffed by staff members asking Kyle to stop smoking inside. And they apparently NBC executives and everyone said that no one could stop him from smoking, and that previous attempts by a fire marshal and NBC had been unsuccessful. According to 3 sources, Simon had smoked indoors for years, much to the frustration of the staff, crew, and talent. NBC has given Cal near total control over AGT. Virtually no decisions are made by the network on the show without his approval, according to 3 well-placed sources. I believe that. He's a control freak from everything I've read or learned about. But again, all speculation here. As reported by Variety early in the production of season 14, a painting of Cal and his 5 dogs was presented on camera to the judges. According to sources from former Tonight Show host Jay Leno, was a guest judge and remarked that the painting looked like something on the menu at a Korean restaurant. Union was disturbed by the remark, which seemed to play into a racist stereotype about Koreans, especially since an Asian staff member on set appeared to be upset. Union pushed for the footage to not be aired, which further solidified her as difficult reputation. Let's pause there because that's step 1 I wanted to get to. The smoking, I'm on her side wholeheartedly. That's gross. And if you're going to do force that and you're going to be breaking the law and just smoking anyway against the wishes of your whole crew, put them in a room with walls so no one else has to deal with that. That's gross, and someone should have fixed that. That alone would piss me off tremendously and give me headaches, and everything would stink. That I'm with her wholeheartedly with. This Jay Leno joke? What? They eat dogs in Korea. I Googled beforehand. Several sites have verified this, especially the street vendors. It's not something they're proud of, and it's something they try to outlaw. But dog soup is a very popular dish in South Korea. That is an absolute thing. That is not a racist thing. That's just what they do there. And some people actually like to eat dog there. So I'm confused. One, really? Now we're that sensitive now? I was when I read the headline, insensitive Asian joke, I thought, oh wow, the SNL guy who got fired. No, he literally made a very lazy, unfunny Koreans eat dog joke, which was not funny. Surprise, surprise, Leno's not funny. I hate that I have to defend Jay Leno, who I despise, the denim turd. I do not like the man ever since what he did to Letterman and Conan. I'm not a Jay Leno fan in the slightest. But what? What? They eat dogs. They do. And it's gross. And they're trying to not eat dogs, but they still eat dogs. So how is that racist? Just because, Koreans don't want to talk about it anymore. What they did and do. That's not a racist joke. Furthermore, why didn't you say it to his face during it happened? If you're going to, pushing for the footage not to be aired, you're not a producer on the show. You don't get that right. And the Asian staff member appeared to be upset. Did someone complain to you? Did anyone come forward and complain? Did anyone? No? You're just doing it because you think they were. This is problematic. This is where it gets too crazy. Now we're at the point where everything is so careful, we can't make a comment about Koreans eating dogs because some of the Asian staff members are going to be offended. I mean, what? This one blows my mind. Sorry, I don't understand. To me, ding, point 1 of that's being difficult. Not only that, if you want to comment on the joke and say it's not funny in the moment to Jay Leno's face, do it. More power to you. Anything to make him squirm, I support it. But going then to the executives to push for the footage to not air, that's not your place. It's just not. If the show airs or go to anything, tell Simon Cowell, like he said, Simon, I didn't like that joke. I hope you pull it. I didn't like that. Okay, but that seems crazy to me. So let's keep going. Another incident involved a male contestant from Italy whose audition involved impressions of various singers. When the contestant was preparing to do an impression of Beyonce, he slipped on black gloves, which Union read as an attempt to indicate a change in skin tone. She referred to them as blackface hands. According to 2 sources, and voted to eliminate the contestant. Neither of these segments aired, and in both cases, Union was concerned that staff members, and in the case of the male singer, the audience would be exposed to racist or racially insensitive performances. I mean, come on. First of all, look, I don't even know were they just literally black gloves or were they brown skin gloves? I guess that makes a little bit of a difference, but still, they're gloves. You didn't even put blackface on. I didn't even know you could do blackface hands. It's a term I've never heard. That one I can't. I don't see that as racially insensitive. But beyond that, say it to his face. If you want to say it as the judge, you're allowed. You know what? I didn't like that. Why did you put the gloves on? You didn't need to put the gloves on. Just do it. Say it, and as you're judging. But to then go around and say that the performance shouldn't happen, That's crazy. That's crazy. To worry about the audience being exposed to insensitive performances. Come on, he's not coming out saying the N word. This is crazy. Like, let them react how they want. This controlling of the show to this degree is this is crazy to me. Two sources say that Union also expressed earned the reputation of being difficult because she would ask contestants dressed in drag what their preferred pronouns were, a move that seemed to annoy producers. But tensions hit all. Look, that's I think that's fair. That's what people want, but they should bring that up, and you should ask and respect it if you can. Obviously, if you mention it. But I don't understand why that's annoying producers. They don't want to deal with it. I will say I've said this before. Some terms are confusing. This use of they is not grammatically correct. And I do have trouble with it because if there's a group of people there, you need to refer to them as they. So if I'm referring to a group and a person who now goes by they, it's very complicated. It's not a good use of the word. I don't care what people want to call themselves. I'll respect whatever they want to be called, but I don't like changing grammar to fit something that just let's use a different word. There are other words you could use. That one's, I understand why people are frustrated with that. So yes, in that case, I can see again, it's complicated, but that one, she's being respectful of pronouns. That's her right, and she should. But I can see why some people would have been annoyed by that. Sorry, wrong button there. Going to keep tensions hitting high after an incident involving a 10-year-old black rapper named Dylan Gilmer. According to two sources, Union was told in a production meeting by producers that the show needed to pick an act that America can get behind. Union objected to the suggestion that a dance group from Texas made up of white contestants could be that act, as it did not receive as much of an enthusiastic reply from the audience as Gilmer, according to two sources. A source close to production of the show denied that producers said that they needed to pick an act that America could get behind and said that producers would never use such language. But they sure did. I mean, it's America's Got Talent. America is what the show's for. And they're not denying the fact that they tell the judges to pick somebody that they can, push. Reality shows are rigged. In the same meeting after contestants from a choir from South Africa, made up of black African members, were brought up, sources recall Howie Mandel saying maybe they can sing something from Lion King. Again, he's just old. Howie Mandel's the nicest, sweetest guy. I don't believe for a second he's racist. Is this like trying to make it sound like he's racist because he asked black African choir members to sing Lion King? I don't understand what that has to do with anything. Cowell and Mandel reached through NBC, did not offer comment. Union was frustrated, according to three sources. She felt producers were implying that America's audience couldn't get behind a 10-year-old black rapper, a viewpoint she felt was racist. But the decision was made to cut Gilmer from the show. He was later a guest on Ellen DeGeneres. Tyler Perry gave him his own show on BET. Union was so angry, according to two sources, that she went outside to get fresh air and returned after about 5 minutes to find Cowell furious that she had left. Look, I don't know what's happening with the scene. I didn't see it, but I'm not... sounds like she felt producers were implying that American audiences couldn't get behind a 10-year-old black rapper. She's making it about race. So that's where a lot of this problem come from, is like, who said anything about, no, we can't have a black kid do it? I don't see that anywhere. So again, this is tough. This is tough to everything's a fight, it seems like. Then she storms off, which she needs to do. Simon Cowell does it all the time on the show. She has every right. But then Cowell's like, why isn't she here? Because he wants to go. And he doesn't like to wait for people. He wants people to wait for him. So look, all of this is reading as she's not getting along with this crew. They think she's difficult. She clearly isn't getting along with this crew. Seems like a perfect show to just amicably part ways. That's how I'm reading on this. Source close to production told Vulture that Cowell later told Union that if it was that important to her, he would be willing to spare Gilmer. But other sources said Cowell was hostile and aggressive when he delivered that message. And at that point, Union had had enough. The situation was so tense that Union was pushed by Cowell and his agents at CEA, which also represent Union. That makes things more complicated because the agents have a package and they want their people to be there too. They wanted her to meet with Cowell privately, along with her manager, in an attempt to patch things up, which sources say they did at his home last May. It's unclear how that went, but the show went on hiatus, and now she's been let go for season 15, and she's exploring her legal options to see just against the network, close to producers, etc. So look, that's the story. I wanted to go through because it just, I'm sorry, she seems like she was difficult. Look, she has every right to do the things she did, but when you do those things, they shouldn't have said your hair's too black. But at the same time, someone else defended that in a later article I read that was not the case. They wanted hair consistency, is what their sort of the response to that was, even though they haven't really made any comments. But I believe that because they tape these shows forever. I've been to tapings of the show, and they try to match together a lot of shows, so they match. That very well could have been a comment that was misinterpreted. So look, I just think this is a case of Gabrielle, you didn't clearly that you didn't get along with them, and you can't get along with everybody. Is this a toxic workplace? The smoking sounds gross, but Jay Leno making a lazy joke that you could have easily just called out to his face and been a grown up about and said that's not funny. That would have been the proper joke. To me, it's like, hey Jay, that just wasn't funny. Do you have like a funny joke? Like that's a to me that's what you'd actually should say. Beyond that, like she's just getting frustrated that she's not a producer on the show. They've done the show for 15 years. They picked a group and they happen to be white, and then she's saying, well, you didn't pick the black group. She's making it about race, I believe, and I don't know these groups or who was better, but look, Simon Cowell's in charge. So you don't like your boss, then quit and go to another show. This thing just screams of toxic culture. Is it? What do you guys think? Am I crazy? To even echo that further, like Dwayne, sorry, I'm reading the article, but I'm sorry, what's his name? The previous host, Nick Cannon, who married Mariah Carey. That's how I got there. Nick Cannon was fired. Well, no, he left because he did a bit talking about how squeaky clean AGT is, and that he said something with a bit with the N-word, and then they got wind of it, and they were like, "You can't ever do that." And then he was like, "What? Don't tell me what to do. See you later." Respect to him, and he sort of admitted that wasn't the first time they tried to sort of force him to do things. But look, he made his comment. He left. He's not suing them. He's like, "I don't like them. They tried to make me change. See you later." If she's going to try to sue and do all this stuff and do all this behind the scenes drama and then not at least publicly be like, look, I didn't get along. See you later. That I respect, but this weird, like, clearly agents and people unleashing this sort of drama, and her husband clearly, come on, husbands don't tweet unless they've been approved by their significant others. They shouldn't at all. I'm surprised. There's no way she's not like, yeah, thanks, honey. She's making this public beef to sort of try and save face, but I think this is the complete wrong direction. And it just shows how overly sensitive we're becoming. Because look, I support more PC culture. I do. I think there are instances where, obviously there are very toxic work environments. But aside from the smoking, this just seemed like an annoying, controlling boss who's outdated and too much Botox to his head. And he's just very unhappy in his placement in life. But he has some power here and he's going to use it. I don't see him using it to an extent that's really just like toxically affecting her life or harassing or assaulting or keeping her down. He's producing a show that he's done 15 years and you're the first year in. Am I crazy? Am I missing something? I wanted to have this conversation with you guys. Tell me what you think down below. And also tell me what your thoughts on the Survivor opening was, because I may bring on that later. Do you want me to talk about more of this stuff? I wanted to try and do something I was passionate about today. Something that bothered me as we prepare for Thanksgiving this week. So thanks so much for be a member. You can hit join down below next to subscribe. If you like this kind of content, I'm going to be doing more of this stuff. If it doesn't perform as well here, I'll be doing some of it there. I'd love to bring in a new community where we can just talk about everything without worrying about what we say. I'd love that. So please hit the join button down below. Subscribe, hit me up on Twitter, social media, all that stuff. I'm going to go get ready for some other reviews. So stay tuned for more content. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, everybody, and a great holiday. Bye.